My advice would be to talk yourself into your ideas. So I'm a big believer in, we get these little inspirations, these little ideas, and it's very easy to not go with it or say, oh, that won't work, or, get negative about our own ideas. But I think one of the best things any artist could do is talk themselves into those ideas and then do those ideas.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Mastrius for this sneak peek with artist mentor Stephanie Goldman. At Mastrius, you get personal feedback, teaching, advice, and support from a master artist of your choice so you can reach your goals in your style at your pace. I am your host, Lynn Mazzara, and today I am thrilled to introduce Mastrius mentor Stephanie Goldman, who is going to be sharing with us exploring color, value, and inspiration. Now, a little bit about Stephanie. Stephanie Goldman is an American artist celebrated for her vivid figures, portraits, miniatures, and drawings. She has held solo exhibitions at the Riverside Art Museum and the Joan Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice, as well as participated in national, international, museum, and group shows. Goldman co-authored the complete book of poses for artists, and her work has appeared in various publications. She teaches drawing and painting at the Atheneum School of Arts in La Jolla, California, and is a signature member of several prestigious organizations, including the California Art Club, the National Watercolor Society, and the American Watercolor Society. Additionally, she is represented by CaliforniaWatercolor.com and serves as president emeritus of the National Watercolor Society. Welcome, Stephanie. Mastrius is really happy to have you join us today. And you're going to be sharing with us your thoughts on color, value, and inspiration using your own work as examples, which really excites me, because I am very curious to know the inspiration behind so many different bodies of work using so many different media and styles. You are an incredibly prolific artist. And to get us started, what got you started on this path and how long have you been doing it?
Enjoying the video? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when new Mastrius videos are added.
Well, thank you, Lynn, for that introduction. And what got me started as a professional, I'd been an artist privately growing up, and it was a very inexpensive way for my mother to have us kids be entertained. And as I got older and was commissioned to start doing artwork for others, once money became involved, I got frozen. I got paralyzed. And so that kind of went on for a little while. And then Tony Robbins was offering a walk on fire to get over your fear thing in the early 80s in San Diego. And I thought, well, that's definitely me. And I signed up for it. And it did that fire walk, which was not really my intention to walk on the fire, but I did do that. And one of the things I'd written down was to get find an art instructor, an art teacher. And I did find one practically right away after that experience, and met my husband, who became my art instructor and now my lifelong love and partner. And it's been just a great adventure ever since. And that happened in the 80s.
Oh my goodness. You actually walked on fire.
I did.
And it broke through this barrier you had.
It did. I have to say, Tony Robbins, his stuff works. And so.
Well, looking at your body of work, that's amazing. And I'm really curious to hear about how you took all of this energy after you broke through and made it into a lifelong career as an artist?
Well, what I'll share the screen and share some of my work, and then we'll talk about it.
Oh, good.
So I want to thank you again for that introduction. One of the first things that I did was I noticed that children look at adults in a particular way, and so these are all, I did a whole body of work of 3-year-olds who are exhibiting that relationship that a child has with an adult, a 3-year-old. And I wanted to emphasize the responsibility of that relationship. And I just thought, well, no better way than to really paint all of these kids from that perspective. And so I painted, I don't know, it must have been 12 or 14 paintings. They're all oil colors. They're all different. They're all 3-year-olds. And that body of work was exhibited at the Riverside Art Museum. And it was hung low. You can see that. And then it was purchased and donated to the Osteopathic Center for Children and Families here in San Diego. But it was really successful, and the children really enjoyed looking at the work of other kids their age. So that was quite a lot of fun, and they were all various colors and different children from every walk of life. So
well, what struck me immediately seeing this body of work was the pose, that angle of the child looking up at you. And not only is that a difficult pose to draw and paint, but hearing the inspiration behind it really makes this a powerful body of work. And looking at how large the pieces are, this is amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, as artists, our main objective, I think, is really being observant about what's in our environment and what's around us. And so I take that job very seriously. And like this is a body of work. These are all oil commissions. They're commissioned portraits. And once again, it's just an opportunity to experiment with different things. And when you get to know other people, when you're doing a commission and you want to try and find something that really shows off that person and what they're about and getting to know them. And so this was actually, each one of these portraits was very exciting to do, because getting to know each one of these people was really a gift to how to bring something forward like that. And these are all oil paintings, and most of them are all sold. And the bottom one here is my fencing coach. This was him right before an épée lesson.
That's a very striking pose.
Oh, thank you. And then, in terms of color and value, all these are figure paintings that I've done over the years. And I think studying and drawing and painting the figure is really, really important. And so these are also different paintings that explore not just doing the figure, but positioning the figure in different ways. This one up here of the librarian, this is really a takeoff of a very famous French painting. And this librarian, I was very inspired by the color of her flesh. And I asked her if she would pose for me, and she said yes. And I don't recall right this moment the name of the French painting, but it's a very, very famous one of a very tall figure. She's very tall and nude. It's a back view. And I thought, well, I'm going to put her in that same kind of a pose because it was so elegant.
Oh, you really captured, like you said, the beautiful skin tone she has.
So the inspiration behind these, I do a lot of reading, And I like to bring that reading and think of an image that might elucidate what it is that I'm thinking about or inspired by, or a visual image from that reading. And many of these I often use the same model. I enjoy using him. He's like, many people paint still lives. They may paint the same type of still life over and over again. Glass, like a lot of artists like to paint glass, you know, in various different ways. Well, I happen to use the same figure over and over again in different poses, with differing inspirations behind each one. These happen to be mathematical equations that I tried to incorporate into something, into a figurative pose, to bring across an emotion that might accompany that mathematical saying. Now, I don't read this language. I have investigated it and uncovered through the process what it meant and what it means. I admire all of those mathematicians who are fluent in math language, because it is a beautiful language and it says so much. Each one of these equations really says so much. So, and I've written about this on my blog and in other places, so I won't go into it now, but these are all inspired by reading about math.
That's incredible. That's because the work itself is amazing, but hearing the story behind your inspiration and the fact that reading, which to me would be a really dry scientific volume, you turned into something so visually appealing and interesting.
Well, I was
Wow.
reading a book by Richard Feynman, and he was so articulate in the way he talked about math. He made it very, very exciting, and he talked about different formulas. And I think the name of the book is "You've Got to Be Kidding, Mr. Feynman," and it is a very good book. And then I went through this phase where I was very involved. It was when the heat technology was really coming out, and you could, you know, you were starting to see heat signatures as a way to see if somebody was in a building or something like that. And I was very moved and inspired by this use of color. And so I decided to read about it and then kind of play with it in more of a mod kind of a way. And so this body of work was really generated from what was going on in technology and what we were all starting to see with this use of heat pictures that were being generated. And so I had a good time doing that. And that's, you know, was another avenue of color exploration and using color and value without a lot of gray. And so, you know, that's just a whole different way to use color when you're not going to use a lot of gray to gray it down.
Right. Very few neutrals in here. Very bright, vibrant colors. Love it.
Right. And then Ken and we do a lot of traveling. And so we paint a lot when we travel. And so I've explored watercolor and pencil and different forms of media in travels. And this is just some examples of paintings of, you know, where they're smaller paintings on location, traveling. It's just a great way to keep continuing to work in your studio and to keep practice, and everything is a possible adventure, you know, in a little painting while you're traveling.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned to me in an earlier conversation, you don't turn off being an artist. You see everything through artist's eyes all the time, don't you?
Yeah, and even if sometimes it's just even about maybe taking pictures if you don't have time to do a painting or a drawing, and designing a composition, like editing that photo and finding the composition and getting ideas for later. I have folders of ideas that I want to paint. You know, it's like really so that you never, like, you're sitting in your studio going, now what do I want to do next? You can open that idea folder and go, oh yeah, you know, I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that, and you've already got a composition together, you know, that you can start from. So you've already started the process. And I think that's really important for an artist, because some people say, well, I just don't like to draw, or I just don't have time. But you can always take a photo of something that moves you and then design a composition and have a folder ready to go, so that your ideas never cease coming, because sometimes you have dry spots. Oh, I can't think of anything.
Absolutely. That is great. A great suggestion. Take a photo and create a composition.
Yeah. And so, you know, the best place to go for color is plein air painting. And I do plein air painting, landscape painting, just to really add to my visual lexicon color relationships and different color ideas. So these are just some landscapes that were done mostly on location, just using color and composition and texture. I happen to like a lot of texture in my work. So when I work with oil paint, I like to pile it on. You know, I want you to practically be able to run your fingers over a painting and feel what the things are happening. So, and then other times, like with watercolor, it's not so easy to do that. But there are ways, which really also makes watercolor really, really interesting and fun to use, is to find ways to add textural elements. And then, you know, I was inspired by, I wanted to do a lot of flowers. And so, believe it or not, all of these flowers, these were all dried flower compositions. So, you know, I was reading a lot about the Impressionists and how they use dried flower. They use like fake flowers to do their flower still lives. They weren't using real flowers. And I thought, well, that's a great idea, because then you have plenty of time. You know, your flower isn't going to wilt. And so I did a lot of paintings of flower compositions from, I mean, I ended up buying so many flowers, plastic, but they're beautiful now. Like, you can really get nice fake flowers, you know, and do a composition. So I did a whole series of paintings of fake, I would call them fake flowers, but like, I don't really like calling them fake flowers, because they just look like beautiful flowers to me.
And some of them are quite detailed and some of them are quite impressionistic. I love that.
Yeah, and it's really fun to experiment with that. Sometimes I take my glasses off when I paint so that I don't see things quite as well. And because I want more of a blurry, I don't want all the detail all the time, you know. Sometimes that can be overbearing when you have something that's just so detailed out, you know. It just destroys the romance or the energy of a piece. And then I did a whole series. I was inspired by an artist named Gouache, and I did a whole series of pen and ink drawings in sanguine based on an exhibition I saw of his work at the National Gallery. And this is just some of those drawings that came from that inspiration. And then here is some figure drawings that I have done with pencil, charcoal. I think it's important to do any kind of black and white work, whether it's figure drawings or drawing boxes or, you know, anything, just to get out of color and get more into line and shape and value. Another body of work was done. I was commissioned to paint some East meets West images that are the Eastern zodiac combined with the Western zodiac. And this is just a few examples of that. These are all gouache. So I've worked in gouache. I enjoy working with gouache. It's another one of those elements that you can add to watercolor to make it a little bit more textural and change up color relationships and how they work. So that was a lot of fun. There were other artists involved in that one too. Now here's an example. I was commissioned to do some digital artwork, spiritual work for a hospital. And so these were all done digitally, these images. And that was another really exciting project to work with digital art. It's a completely different way to work, but it's very, very legitimate and satisfying in its own right, even though you don't, it's all digital. So you don't get to touch it.
You don't get to touch it, right?
Yeah.
But look at the texture you've achieved and the layers, and the movement is, it makes me very curious about digital art.
Yeah, well, we have a program that we like to use. It's kind of Photoshop for it's called Art Studio, and it's very inexpensive, but which is wonderful. It's like Photoshop without all the cost.
Mm-hmm.
So Ken and I now, so we do a lot of public art together, and this is some of the work that we've done in hospitals. And this happened to be in an MRI room for children, and they wanted something that was very child friendly and kind of Disney-esque in a way. And so we had a great time doing that project. Here was another project in another hospital in a more child-friendly area. And then one of a really great project we did, and this we painted at the hospital, which was very interesting to do that. On a big wall, and you can see a video of us doing it. It's like 12 or 13 days in 2 minutes and 27 seconds. If you went to our website, you could click on that video and see it from start to finish. So yeah, that's pretty much like the variety and inspiration that people can use in their work. You don't have to do just one thing. You can explore your inspirations when they come and really get involved in projects. They can be month-long, year-long, decades-long. Some projects I have going on they're still ongoing. I've been working on them for a long time.
Stephanie, this presentation has been amazing. Do you want to stop sharing your screen?
I will.
And so we can see your lovely face again. And before we close off, I would like to ask you one question. What is one piece of advice or encouragement you would give an artist that you wish you had heard when you were starting out?
I think that my advice would be to talk yourself into your ideas. So I'm a big believer in, we get these little inspirations, these little ideas, and it's very easy to not go with it or say, oh, that won't work, or, get negative about our own ideas. But I think one of the best things any artist could do is talk themselves into those ideas and then do those ideas, because all of these things that I've shown have been my ideas, my inspirations that came that I talked myself into. And I have plenty of others that I didn't do. I didn't talk myself into, and of course I don't have anything to show for those because I didn't do them.
Wow. I am in awe of your it's not only your skill, but how prolific you are, and how you you've been painting since the 80s, how you don't let any one media or one style box you in. The sky's the limit. If you think it, you do it. I love that.
Well, thank you. If you look at a lot of artists throughout history, that's what they did. Leonardo da Vinci was, and I'm not comparing myself to him, but here was an artist who did everything. He made war machines, he did sculpture, he wrote speeches, he drew, he painted, he was all over the place. He threw parties, he was a party thrower. Like And even Picasso, you look at the variety that he's done. So I think artists need to really open the door wide open and let themselves be creative in every area of their life, whatever inspires them.
That's wonderful. I just want to wrap up everyone by saying thank you for watching and to let you know that at Mastrius, everything we do is live and interactive and online. So you can get your questions answered in real time and learn exactly what you need to reach your goals, whatever they are. I'm a member at Mastrius and I absolutely love it. I'm learning and growing my skills so much faster than when I was just working on my own. And the community of other artists is so supportive and welcoming. I hope you'll join us. And you can find more information and a list of mentoring artists, over 200 of them, at mastrius.com. Check us out.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.